Okay, so grab your notebooks. I'm going to talk for no more than 30 minutes. Someone raise your hand and be like, hey man, it's been 30 minutes. But stop clicking, definitely, everybody. Because there's definitely been instances where we cover something, then I go around and redo the thing. And so let's talk. We got through the more in-depth taking stuff out of Substance Painter into the viewport renderer, right? Using the Uber material. Everybody remember all this? Yes?
Kind of.
Yeah.
I can refresh myself with the video.
Right. And why would you use the viewport render?
So you can see it live.
Right. If Redshift doesn't work on your computer, that's, I think, the next best option, right? And so it's the same object here. And this object is the most complicated in terms of materials, right? Because there's like a metal part, there's this dull part, and then another like sort of plasticky part. Not everything is going to be the same, right? So when you're connecting everything here, there's not one answer to all of this, okay? And depending on which object, what your object looks like, may influence some of the decisions you make here. Does that make sense for everybody? The one principle that after doing some more research, we should definitely all adopt is that all of the textures that we bring into Redshift should, except for the color, we should set to the raw color space. There may just be a subtle difference. In the case of the bump, it needs to be total difference. But that's one rule you can use, right? And so after importing textures into RS, set all maps except color to raw color space. What's that?
Is this the same for viewport?
No. The viewport stuff, I think I nailed it. Like everything in that video is gold.
Oh, okay. There's something else like that.
Okay, yeah. So this is just for Redshift, right? The raw color space. For some of them, it may make a bigger difference. For most of them, it'll be pretty much indistinguishable. It's just how it's interpreting the bits that are being stored in the pixels. So that's standard, right? Now, this doesn't, that in particular doesn't solve the problem of if some things come in and they're too dull. And so the crux of the issue here, if we make just some object, and save, and so nursing student Nikki, we're talking about Redshift and dullness. So here, this is just, there's nothing going on with this material yet, right? It's just the raw stuff. And so a lot of our shininess decisions here at the beginning are going to be in our reflection channel, right? And the differences that are going to be happening here that are going to be important as far as whether or not it's shiny or rough is that things that are plasticky reflect and propagate light completely different than things that are metallic, right? And so right here we have our BRDF. I don't remember what that acronym is off the top of my head. We'll look it up in a minute. But these are different models, different formulas for calculating reflections and reflectivity, hence all the weird names, right? In computer graphics, if you come across a pull down that looks like this, like just filled with seemingly completely arbitrary gobbledygook that looks like it might be someone's name, or even like non-Western people's names, like then that's definitely a situation where there's several competing algorithms to do such a thing, and these are the ones that have gained the most, momentum, and these are the options you can choose from, right? And so here, if we look at this in this stuff, you see with the default settings, changing the reflection algorithm doesn't give us much of a difference. The more important thing down here in this instance is our Fresnel type. Okay, so the Fresnel type here is going to be, first of all, what does the word Fresnel mean? We've mentioned this before. I think I kind of explained it. Does anyone think they can say what the word Fresnel means? Remember, it's spelled F-R-E-S-N-E-L, right? So you may look at it and think Fresnel. What's that?
Could I describe it best as like a billboard green?
Okay, you can visualize it in color, and it would look like a gradient, right? So just in a more simple thing here, I'll grab a Fresnel shader. In this case, it's just on the color channel, right? And the center is dark and the edge is light. If I put this on here, it looks like that. And it continues to look like that no matter what angle I look at it. Yes?
It's a conductor.
No, that'll be a type of thing later on.
Oh.
But the word Fresnel is just this, that there is a value around the edge and a value in the middle, and there's some sort of transition between those things. What's really going on here is that this value is being calculated because of the angle to the camera view. Right? That's the key conceptual part. That's the one I'd write down. Fresnel. Angle to the camera view. Okay? Imagine your camera not as something that captures light, but as like a light gun that shoots photons out of it. Right? And so if you conceptualize the camera in that way, and we're shooting photons at this ball, the ones that we shoot directly out of the middle of the camera, in fact, we could probably even visualize such a thing. The ones that get shot directly out of the camera from the middle, these would come out, imagine that being a straight line, hit the ball, and ricochet directly back to the camera, right? And so essentially that photon is turning around 180 degrees. Everybody with me there? Now, the photons from the camera are being shot out like this, right? That's what perspective view is. It's more or less a single point. And so these that are shot out over here hit the edge and then ricochet off in some other direction, certainly not coming back towards the camera, but this angle is much, much wider than this angle. So what the Fresnel is essentially the mapping of that angle across all of these ricochets. Does that make sense? And so you could use that angle for a bunch of things. In this case, we're just using that angle value to change the color so that it's white over there and it's black in the middle, right? The whiteness and the blackness of it is just simply a measure of this gradient. Whatever we would put in the gradient could be mapped along that value, right? And so now it's white at the edge, blue in the middle, and black in the center. I could flip the black and the white just by moving their nodes on this thing, so on and so forth, right? With the black around the edge, this is a really simple toon shader in that we get a black outline that we can use as if our object is being drawn with a outline, like drawn by pencil. Does this make sense for everybody? Okay, because the the toon shading is one application of this. A more another application of this idea is in reflection, in that there are many, many, many things that are not reflective here, but are reflective here, where the light is kind of glancing off of the thing. But the light here is, the properties of the reflection and the light interaction are just such that this is not reflective, right? And so, for instance, in this type of situation, we could use this in different ways, but let's go ahead and say, we'll add a and under reflection strength, I'll add a Fresnel. And you can see in the preview there. Let me turn it off, and I can open this in a new window, I think. There we go. Right? And so here is something that is reflective. There we go. This is reflective the same amount, which is a lot, around the entire surface of the object. If I put a Fresnel on the strength of the reflection, did I grab the right one? Reflection, wrong one. Reflection strength. Fresnel. There we go. Now, you see that the stuff in the middle, not as reflective. As it gets towards the edges, it gets very reflective. This is a common property of definitely metals. Does this make sense for everybody? Right? So that's the thing, the piece of information that can help guide you through any render engine is that metallic substances exhibit Fresnel reflectivity. In that it's strong around the edge and then not as strong in the middle. The other piece of information that you definitely need to memorize is this acronym, IOR. Kylie, remember what that one is? Refraction. You guessed right. Index of refraction. Okay? So this would be how you would set up non-metallic things. They have some sort of IOR. And the important scaling values to use here is that so the IOR is how much is light going to get its path affected when it makes contact with this surface. And so 1 would be not at all. And so if I have an object that's see-through and I set the IOR to 1, if there were no other surface imperfections on it, it would be invisible, as if light were just passing through it. In real life, it's impossible to do such a thing, but in the render engine, you can do it quite easily. And then as you go up from 1, then the IOR, then the object bends light more as it hits the surface. And the other thing is that most render engines now use real world IOR values, because everyone's trying to do this. What does this stand for, Noelle? Does someone not named Bell want to help out Noelle? PBR. PBR. Danielle's looking it up, I think.
I got like professional bull riders.
Professional bull riders. Pabst Blue Ribbon. What? Physically based rendering. Right. Not professional bull riders. Not Pabst Blue Ribbon beer. It is physically based rendering. Right? In a word, not in a word, in a sentence, right? PBR is trying to make the computer function like the real world. Everyone agrees this would be good because we've got more experience in the real world than we do in Cinema 4D, quite a bit. And it's not this is not just a Cinema 4D term. This is a general. This information here is all just sort of general CG concepts. Everybody with me there? All right, so when I ask next week and I say PBR, you guys are going to know it's physically based rendering, right? Trying to make the real world, the virtual world, work like the real world, right? Before, you had to do it with a bunch of tricks because the virtual world was not compute strong enough to model the real world. But now we're kind of there. Kind of. Everybody with me there? And so the other thing that you can write down and think about here is that when you're looking at all your render settings and stuff, if you see something with IOR, index of refraction, and you say, I want my thing to look like leather, you can look up the IOR of leather and probably dump that number into the slider. In fact, every instance I can think of right now in both Unity and Cinema 4D and the other stuff I work with, all the IOR values are tuned to be just like real world values, right? So you can just look, there's all sorts of tables, right? There's a lot of actual scientists figuring this stuff out, like what is the IOR of frozen water, right? It actually has changing IORs depending on what temperature it's at and stuff. But all those kind of things are perfectly knowable numbers, and most of them are between 1 and 2. It's like I think water is 1.03 or 1.3, I forgot off the top of my head, and 1.6. Usually they're all right 1 point something. Everybody with me there? Okay, let's come back here. Or not to this one. Let's come back here. Now armed with that knowledge, let's come back in and look at this window. And under Fresnel Type, we have metalness or IOR, or apparently IOR advanced. I don't know. If something in a pull-down menu has the word advanced after it, I guess I would not, that would be the last thing I would click on. But if we switch this to metalness, we can start making this look more like something we would want. And up here, especially if you're not going to have something that has multiple surfaces, like metal and plastic, if you come up here to these will help get you in the door. So under preset, by default, it's just sort of the default values. If I come down here and switch to gold, you see that we've switched to GGX and color and edge tint. And now our basis here looks like gold, right? So here I could come in and start changing some of the values, start routing some other things into the edge colors, all of this sort of thing in order to change this, but starting from this basic reflection setup, right? I need to put in some sort of there we go. And so here, something that's not metal, you see when I picked tinted glass here from the preset, it switched it to IOR instead of metalness or edge color, and dialed in the IOR for glass. And so if I dial this down like 1.4, 1.3, if I'm in the menu, 1.2, what's happening over here? Is this moving this way or that way? Let's see if we dial up a little bit. Right, so as it goes up, we're bending light more. And if we put it right at 1, we're essentially seeing through. This is actually behind, the reflection on the object there, the one behind it. Right, so if I set the IOR on this object here, it just looks like a kind of crappy transparency, right? It doesn't look like there's any, it certainly doesn't look like glass, right? Why? Because the IOR is 1. At 1, there is no bending of light happening. And so if this goes up a bit, then, whoa, that looks like a lot. Oh, I had to put in 0.2. There we go, 1.2. The other thing to be aware of is, especially with glass, is that when we model things, like if I told you to make like a snow globe or something, inevitably you would make a sphere and then put stuff inside the sphere, right? However, that is fine in a lot of instances, except if the sphere is supposed to be glass, because the thickness of the material would matter quite a bit for the index of refraction. And so in that case, you would want to do something where you put the sphere into a, like cloth object, or a thickness object. That's what the cloth object does. Let's see if we can actually get that to happen. There we go. And thickness, let's say 0.1. There we go. Let's bring this back into our other scene here. Yeah, awesome. Exactly as expected, right? And so this is a glass material on a solid ball. Everybody see this, right? So not like those paperweights, right? You can get really nice, I guess they're nice, glass paperweights, right? Where it's actually like a solid sphere. Has anyone ever done glass blowing? Do we have the facilities to do that here? Does anyone? Maybe? Okay. If you haven't watched the glass blowing show on Netflix, you watch that show? It's really good. Yeah, with that Blown Away, that's a good one. One of the better, creativity reality shows. And the stuff they make is just so pretty. Anyway, this is a solid glass ball. Here, if I put it inside the cloth surface, or just turn that on, then the cloth surface is taking it and making an inner wall and an outer wall of 0.1 centimeters. And the material is applied to that. And now, this is way more like what we would expect, right? And so this will become incredibly important, right, for when you're texturing your glasses and whatnot on your kitchen tables, right? Making sure that you're not trying to do something where the entire object, as if it's been filled with glass, right? Versus in most instances, making these shapes, they have some sort of inner and outer wall.
I think I messed around with cloth surface earlier.
Right. Well, I mean, the cloth surface is totally misnamed in that the green object all it does is add thickness and non-curving subdivisions. The cloth tags are the things that actually, like we did that before. We made the tablecloth, right? But that was not the cloth surface. It's just, they should really change the name. They might have changed it in 25. I'm not entirely certain. If I take the cloth and turn up the thickness, two things are happening. It's bending the light more because the light has to travel through more mass, more physical stuff, more surface. And you see that this is getting darker, right? Because the darkness of the light here, or the color of the light, is a matter of filtration. When light passes through a clear surface, not all wavelengths pass through to the same degree. If we're seeing red, that means that the other wavelengths are getting slowed down more, resulting in more red wavelength coming off of it. And so the red is passing through more easily and back to our eyes in that instance. Yes?
Doesn't air also have an IOR?
Yeah. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I'm sure it depends on density and temperature. Right, another application of this, it says air is 1. I'm not sure if IOR is like a normalized measure to eyesight or not. Anyways, heat distortion, right? The air at a different temperature is distorting the light flow in order to make, look things above the fire getting all distorted. So the takeaways here, the things I would definitely write down, is that if you know that your end result is going to closely resemble one of our presets here, I would dial that in to sort of get into the ballpark before bringing in all of your textures, right? And so if I set it to aluminum, I'm like, okay, this looks pretty metallic. Now let's start bringing in my textures and go from there with this. Make sense? Okay, so let's just codify everything. Set all text except color to raw. Set a preset before And then when you export out a substance, which two maps are kind of redundant? They give you the same kind of information for the most part. What controls the up and downness? Up, pull out, or push in? Well, it's not the color, right? Color is the color. It's not that one. It's not the roughness. Roughness doesn't have anything to do with height. It's not the metalness. We talked about that one. That has to do with metalness. What are the other ones that you get out of Substance Painter in the usual two workflows? Bell?
Normal and height.
Yes. Okay. So this is the other thing. You don't normal and height. Normal, height, kind of the same info, right? It's essentially the surface bumpiness. Sometimes a height map will just be referred to as a bump map, right? And so the workflow that we're using in Redshift is that normal into the bump map node into the bump. That's the one that works the best. Yes.
So sometimes the normal map, like if you use, I guess the way that I've been doing the preset, it'll give me a normal OpenGL, a normal and a height map. What's the difference between normal and normal OpenGL?
Yeah, there's different ways to calculate normals. I can't speak to all of them off the top of my head, but yeah, there's different ways to calculate normals, and so if you're using something that renders directly in OpenGL, then you would use the OpenGL one, right? And this one, Redshift, I do not believe is doing that. It's just using the other normal. I'm not going to call it normal, but I believe it is in tangent space, whereas OpenGL is in some other way of calculating that. Again, sort of multiple ways. A lot of times in normal map inputs, there'll be a drop-down menu for like, what kind of normal map is this? How was this normal map calculated? Right. And so Substance Painter is capable of outputting all of those different formats. It's just knowing which, and usually just by selecting what program I'm going to, like that's worked out beforehand, right? So like it knows like, if you're going into Redshift, it's looking for tangent space normals, so I'm gonna make that kind of normal map. If I'm going in OpenGL, it's looking for whatever normals OpenGL is looking for, and I'll make that kind of map. Cool? Okay, so we're bringing, our next order of business is going to be bringing everything together, right? When we bring everything together, let's just save ourselves some, hopefully save our future selves from our past selves, in that we'll be making a big scene. Not like yelling and screaming. I mean, like the scene itself is going to be very large, right? And we want to make sure if you're on your personal computer, that you have autosave turned on. It is totally possible, especially in a big scene, to get a corrupted file, right? And in this case, if you're saving every 5 minutes, chances are you're going to be able to back up to just losing a little bit of work rather than losing like a lot of work. What is the other way to help this process, Noelle? Save incremental. Very good. Awesome. Right, which is here. Save incremental. Control Alt S. Everybody, that may be the most important thing I say today. Right? Because of all the files that get corrupted in class, I would say Cinema 4D is number 1. congratulations to them. And After Effects projects, definitely less, but I've seen that happen. And we're going to bring everything together. And as I was thinking about it over the weekend, I think we're going to shoot for 2 targets here. As we approach the end of the semester, we're going to sort of bring our work together in 2, let's say 3 different ways. Okay. And so number 1 is a movie showcasing the kitchen modeling. Think of this as product photography. Now, when I say product photography, I mean when they introduce some new product and we get a commercial for just that, we get all these really nice slow-moving camera shots of that product. This is the kind of thing we want to make of our kitchen. The product is the kitchen modeling. Does that make sense for everybody? The second thing is we're going to make a more narrative movie with robot animating in the kitchen. A second end product. First one doesn't have the robot in. And so in the second one, we can have our robot come in, do something in the kitchen, and then the third thing we're going to do here is that we're going to take the best models and archive them on Sketchfab. Sketchfab is online repository for 3D models. And we can export those directly from Substance Painter. It should, I believe that is still there. Let's check. I'm not sure I've done that since the Adobification. Yes.
Don't they have a limit to how many FPXs you can put in there, or will they change those things?
I don't believe so. We didn't run up against that before.
I'll double check.
Maybe we're using educational accounts. I don't quite remember.
Maybe. I didn't find it as an educational.
I think if you don't mark it as being for sale, then you can put as many free things as you would like up there. I believe that was the deal. Which we'll do now. Does this make sense for everybody? Right? So this is what we're working towards here for the end of the semester. We're going to have this really great movie that showcases all of our modeling for our stuff. We're going to have this really fun movie with our robot doing stuff in the kitchen. And then we'll have our best models archived on Sketchfab. So for Sketchfab, let's look at what that is.
So I looked at the upload list, it's 10 per month.
Okay. So we're fine. That'll be all right. I wonder how they calculate a month.
It could be like Vimeo where it like
Right, so the thing about Sketchfab, that's nice, is that it's this online way to archive and look at 3D models. And some people, sell models through this. There's other model selling, but the interface and the way it plays with other stuff, and I think the quality of like what they're showing you is also really great. And so this is all like this is powered by WebGL, although there's something else on top of it, I believe. Right, and so in your portfolio, you'll be able to have a bunch of links to your Sketchfab models, and even people who don't know anything about 3D anything can click on the link and then look at the model and be like, yeah, you know what you're doing, and then hire you. Does that make sense? Okay. Danielle, you can also say the answers. You don't just need to chat them.
I got nervous. Sorry. I'm just really quiet.
And so let's open that up. Geez, what happened right here? Did I say something really unpopular, like around 241?
Maybe.
Do you guys need to do this every time you sign in to Adobe? No? Like when you're signed in at home, it just stays signed in? What?
Does it not stay signed in your home computer?
No, it does on my home computer, yeah. Just here, when I need it to be fast, it's just a total hassle. Okay, here we go. So remember this? The oven knob?
Should I set another timer?
I already went over the other one. We're on a different topic now. This is exporting to Sketchfab. So I get another 30 minutes. I'll do it in 10. It should be much easier, right? So we have our... Right. Okay. So sending stuff to Sketchfab, it looks like they kept the preset here. So if you go back to Substance, because everyone's saving all of their Substance stuff, if you select Sketchfab, and let me just make a new local place so that if I need to find this, I can. Although I believe I don't need to. Great. Okay, so it exported or it's in the midst of exporting the textures. And now I just need to log in to my Sketchfab.
Once you got a moment, Lisa has a question for substance painter.
Okay. And say that this is a oven knob. Okay. Also, here we go. This goes for pretty much everything, not just this class. When you do post things online, no one cares what class this was, right? No, like you guys, the people taking the classes, barely know what the difference is between 184 and 200, right? Like I spend pretty much the first month of every semester trying to sort everyone out as far as that goes. And people who are not in our system really don't know, right? And so what a lot of students do is they're like, oven knob for art 185. And that's not great for us and practically worthless to the real world, right? And so instead, saying something like, this is an oven knob I designed in a 3D modeling class. I modeled this in Cinema 4D and textured in Substance Painter. Right? Way more information and things that would mean something to potential employers. They know what those things are. They have no idea what Art 185 is. Because every school has an Art 185 and they're not the same. Right? I mean, not in the Maricopa district. Theoretically, that's the same. But other places, it would be way different. And I'll say like oven, kitchen, whatever. And upload. Cross your fingers. Let's see what happens. It opened up Microsoft Edge. It's not a good sign. Let's see. So you're going to need to sign up for a Sketchfab account. And here we go. Awesome, right? And so you don't even, it saves the textures locally so that you have them, right? But it hands this off here in a way that's really nice. And so now I can come in here and you can make a bunch of changes here under because just like we've been dealing with going from different render engines, you make your texture maps, but then within the specific render engine, often you need to tweak some things, to get it to do what you want, right? That's just, again, there's no mass consensus about this, so there's always a little bit of difference. And so here you can show exactly if we want to see the wireframe on this at all. These are the different maps that came up here, and so there they all are together. And oh yeah, this all works in VR as well. Settings. Here's what I'm looking for, I think. Maybe on the new version we don't get to play with the other stuff quite as much. Final render, UV checker. All right, so there's all these different ways to look at the different parts that you have here. Settings and finish. Here we go, edit 3D settings. This is what I was looking for. So we can adjust the background, to whatever people would want to see behind it. You can also, I think they have some preset here. the relative brightness of things, the field of view of the camera, right? And so you can see, this is a great animation actually of camera lens distortion, right? And so shorter lens, we get a very isometric view. See how the perspective goes away. Things in the distance do not seem to get smaller if I shrink this the whole way down to 1. Whereas if I dial it up, things start to get weird. Our lighting, we want PBR clearly. This is the room. You can sort of dial around the lighting, right? All of this stuff to sort of, set it up so that your model looks as good as possible when people click on it. Sort of dial in each of the materials that you've uploaded. Our glossiness. All right, so if I wanted this to look slightly glossier, sort of dial that in. Post-processing. This object is really small, so this is not going to make a big difference. We don't need too much of that in there. If it was an animated thing, and I can save these settings. And so now, let's make the background obvious. I'll say save settings. I'll say exit. And so now when this one shows up in my channel, you see it's a little bit glossier and it has that background now. So uploading to Sketchfab should not be a huge issue. Make sense? Okay. Why don't we all give this a try? Number 1, sign up for a Sketchfab account. Number 2, give it a test drive with your mixer. So open up your mixer, Substance Painter, export the mixer. All you need to do is from the drop-down, select Sketchfab, right? And then in the next window, sign in to Sketchfab. But you need to make your Sketchfab account first. You can use your school email or not, I don't care. Yeah, I mean, my general thing about this is that if you have an email that isn't out there, you can use that one, that's fine. I got on the Gmail bus very, very early, so I've got caseyfarina@gmail.com. So let's all give this a shot. Put that in there. Jose, what's your question? Everyone else work on that. Jose, I'll answer whatever your question was about. What's your painter question? And let's write down what we said we're going to do. Jose, you still there? I finally watched Shang-Chi over the weekend.
I saw it too.
Not yet.
It's very
Yeah, it's one of the better ones, I thought. Top 4 Marvel movies?
good. Really.
Definitely.
What's along with it in the top 4 though?
I mean, what were my favorites? Yeah?
What should we do if our version, or if we worked on it at home, which is a mirror version of Substance Painter and can't open it on the computer here?
I mean, just do it when you get home, or
So just-
do you have something else? I mean, I just want people to try sending it up. You can unpublish it later on Sketchfab. I just want you to just get, sign up and go through the thing.
Oh, okay.
Okay? I mean, I want you to eventually upload your mixer to Sketchfab, so you want to get that going. Okay, so when I was doing the counter, I wanted to use the marble and wood, but instead of making another wood texture, I wanted to use the wood I created before, but when I export the counter, should I just export it from Painter with the wood texture over it? Or can I add it in C4D? NFC4D I would like to use, would it be like, we're just selecting, okay, Jose, I'm trying to parse what you're saying here. You know what I'm gonna do, Jose? Why don't I send you the chat link so that you can just share your screen and show me what's going on? I think that's gonna be a little faster. Everybody able to sign up for Sketchfab okay?
Yeah, I think they already had a account, so I just had to log in.
Okay. Taryn, did you get signed up? Good. What is your jacket? Is it a thing?
Oh, it's a character from an anime, My Hero Academia. This is his like hero cosplay. It's got ears.
Oh, okay.
It's super cute.
I just have to be.
What? It's really cute. Thank you. It's very cozy too. I bet.
Yeah, it's kind of back to being cold in here again.
It's getting cold outside too.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
It's absolutely freezing in my house all the time. I'm gonna have to buy another blanket.
Aren't you in control of the thermostat in your house?
No.
That's okay. I am also not in control of the thermostat in my house. And I pay the mortgage.
Yes. I don't dare touch the thermostat. My dad would kill me. Because I currently don't have my own place right now. I'm still staying with my dad.
Yeah, even if you have your own place.
Yeah, that's
What
true.
happens when someone's put, like, no, like,
It's expensive. Everything's expensive. Everything's been going up in price.
I saw something on Instagram, like, same thing happened to her. Yeah. Like, and she just recently moved to Chicago, and it's like remarried. I'm not gonna know that.
But it's also weird because it's specifically my room that gets all the air.
Mm.
And she's
Like the vents aren't.
Well, that's a good thing in the summer.
Yeah, when the air is on.
Yeah, unfortunately at home, our studio is like the warmest room in the house.
That's always how it seems to be. It's like my dad, he works from home, so his room is always really hot because he has like 3 monitors for his computer. I always feel so bad because I'm like freezing under my covers and he's like, give me your air.
Yeah. I too have a controversial number of monitors. How is it not working, Nikki? Riley, did you upload anything?
Not yet. Do you want me to?
Yes.
Okay. Let me go see if I can.
Export it from Substance or Cinema?
Substance.
Oh.
Oh, I don't have Substance.
Oh wait, you don't do them from Sniff
Now, the exporting is directly from Substance, right? Because Sketchfab is like one. Most of the models are like a thing. Like this is a car, a tree, a rock, a mixer.
And then I can't upload anything. Unless- Yeah.
Okay, Nikki, did you make a Sketchfab account? You don't. It's not like the other things where you automatically have one through your Maricopa. You have to go to Sketchfab and make a new account. Jose, are you coming on the chat?
Oh, okay, I got it.
I mean, try shutting down Substance and restarting it. See if it can go back and handshake with the website again. It's waiting for me. I am definitely on. I'm on the call. I'll hang up. Oh wait, does it say? The thing probably popped up in another window. Hold on. So as we're working this out, Nikki, did that work? Restarting Substance? Were you able to export?
Yes. Okay. So Nikki's having
Here.
issues. It could possibly be if she clicked use Google to sign in. If
Uh-huh.
you use Google to sign in, sometimes
Well-
it won't work for Sketchfab. At least not to export from Substance Parent. That's the issue I have. I have to disconnect from Google or go into my account settings, disconnect it from Google,
Well, wait a minute,
then
here.
try and reset my password for the account, and then that somehow worked. It was a process.
Okay, but you chatted her this? Or something? Because she says, yes, it's working now. Did you tell her that or no?
No.
Oh.
But
Okay, it's working now? Great. Good. All right, Jose, how's it going? Can you show me what you're talking about in Substance Painter?
I'm really confused. I don't know if I'm hearing you or I'm hearing the stream. Wait, let me mute the stream.
Yeah, turn off the stream. Turn off the stream. Just talk to me through the call.
Okay, yeah, I'm hearing you. Okay, okay, so. Mm. There you go. Okay, so what I was trying to say, it is, so here for example, I want to put the texture of wood that I have already, but instead of doing like again all the process of creating the wood texture and blah blah blah, I want to just use the one that I have already, that would be this one. So I did that, but when I tried to render, well, first my computer will freeze and then it won't show up. So it will just be like cold black. So I don't know if I'm supposed to like do the whole texture again, or if it's like just my laptop freezing.
So this wood that I'm looking at in Cinema 4D, where did this come from?
To be precise, here.
Okay, so you made adjustments here on this wood walnut so that it looks
Yes.
exactly like what you want, and you want to reuse that over there.
Yeah.
Okay. I think you. Right, so is it just that layer, or are the things underneath it also important? The one that says fill layer 1 and layer 1, are those anything, or is it just the top one?
No, this is the top.
And so in that top one,
Like from this one, I already did all the export texture, and it's enough for this red chip material. So, like I think all these work fine.
but
it's
then
just
you
like
want to
it's
reuse it in that other island part with the with the countertop stuff.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me look here. Okay, yeah, so go ahead, stop sharing your screen here so you can look at my screen.
Okay.
So here, I just grabbed anything, right? So this is actually a really good question. Everyone might want to write this one down, right? So Jose, to further, so his sort of outer part of the kitchen and top cabinets, he developed a wood that he liked for those things. But then his island, and that is like a separate mesh. And so he wanted to take the wood that he already got how he liked it and use that in the other file, right? And so how do you reuse your Substance Painter stuff between files? And in this case, what all the work he did were in the settings for this material. And so if you use any material, let's just say this one, I guess, and I do anything to this, like that, and that. Okay, so now this is different. And so here, you can say, create material preset. And that's now a new ball over here, right? And this shelf will be persistent. And so now if I make a new file of whatever, now I should be able to, once I actually open a file, there we go. Now you see that the stuff on my shelf is remained, and so I can texture this donut with that material preset that I just made. Does that make sense for everybody? Jose, are you still on the call?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just waiting the stream.
Yeah. Okay. So once you make the changes in the material, right-clicking and just create material preset, and then
Okay. Yeah.
and then that shows up over here. And then when you open up the new one with the island, you can just drag the exact same wood over there and apply it to the parts that you want.
Okay. Yeah. That was exactly what I meant. Okay. Thank you.
Cool. All right. No problem, man. Okay, so Riley, this is the model. Did you send textures up with it?
Oh, no. That's the only model I have on me right now.
Have you textured this? Have you textured the
I
robot?
haven't textured it. This is just the model.
Okay, so
When I
try.
had saved on my USB, we did not have textures.
Okay, so just throw some textures on it and put the textures up there so that we can see exactly. And
That's
what is
what
this
I have
diamond?
right now. Okay, I can throw it up on there.
Pretty. Interesting.
How do I send it to you?
What do you mean send it to me?
Huh?
Send it to me?
Yeah, I thought you wanted to see it.
Oh, you have it up on Sketchfab?
Yeah.
Your mixer?
Yeah.
Just there should be a link like to the Sketchfab page. But essentially just the URL, right? This up here is how you would send it to somebody.
Oh.
That's why we're using Sketchfab, right? Is that you wouldn't need to have anything. You don't need to summon a file. All you need to do is send them the link, and they can look at your stuff, even if they don't know anything about 3D stuff. Nikki, how did you do this before? Okay, so Riley's sending his up again. Danielle, is this going okay?
Yeah, I feel like, I just had an inception. I was realizing that it had some weird, I don't know what everything was called.
Okay, that's better.
So weird because I had, maybe a practice last month and I still have no materials on this weekend.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the other thing is you want, definitely want two answers.
Yeah, but I just ended up doing.
Oh, I see. There's two. There are two. Or no.
I know,
It's
I
just
did
one.
like that kind of shape, and I had done the, I think I did sweep. Yeah, I had done like a sweep. That's what I saw.
Yeah, so yours, you need some rounding, because this is nice and rounded. This is, but this, you need to, this should be on the bottom part, two assistants. And then, yeah, this geometry is two stars here. And you really need to look around the edges of it. So let's see.
Scales, this is 1.5.
I think the only part you need to do again is like maybe some main bottom. The panel's probably fine if you break that up. This looks like it's double okay. But yeah, this I think you need to finish up.
There's gonna be some issues with the difference too.
Yeah. Yeah, I would revisit that. Looks good. Is the Euros embossed at all?
Oh no, it's not embossed. Should I emboss it and then update it?
And I think, yeah, it should. You want to be a little small.
Okay.
But yeah, that one in the front.
Yes.
Looks good.
There's
I would-
also one on this side. So.
Yeah, I would do it like.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah. Any product that looks really good and is expensive, we don't put the thing that big on.
Okay. Maybe instead like down here.
Yeah, I mean, that, if you look at mixers, that's kind of like where some of them are. I mean,
Reference.
like the sun, whatever it is, sunbeam or sun. What was the one that went to sun?
Who has a sunbeam?
Mixer. That one we wondered about the one on the side. The KitchenAid do not.
No, it was a.
As long as you did it smaller, you could probably get away with a bunch. But like, yeah, just too big.
Yeah.
And you want it to look like it's either pushed in or pulled out.
Cool. And.
But go back to one last.
I tried not to make it fully transparent. I tried to plan it back earlier because I didn't like how transparent it was earlier.
Is there an idle artist here?
I noticed that even I would bring to the teacher to find small areas of improvement.
Yeah.
But I noticed even in general in substance data that no matter how I changed the idle water, it didn't really affect. I don't know if this is my process.
here without having Substance Painter with the textures? Or we need Substance Painter to upload it?
That's the easiest way, yeah.
Because I don't have Substance Painter.
So just save the textures and open Substance Painter on the school computer.
Oh, the school computer has Substance Painter?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see it.
it's entertaining.
It's really slow.
I can keep it on.
Yeah, because like the font would make it less readable.
resolution is what
before, I went for 15 minutes. It looks like I did all the things, and then nothing.
Apparently it won't let me log into Subs Container.
Using your
School account.
You sure you got the info right?
Yeah, I think something went wrong.
Oh, what you can do.
Try logging into After Effects first, then open it.
After Effects? Okay.
Taryn, were you able to upload your mixer?
My what?
Mixer to Sketchfab?
I'm still working on it.
The mixer?
Yeah.
Can you just try it with whatever is done right now?
How do you use the suite?
You need two splines. The first one is the thing that gets swept along, and the second one is the path. So if you're making like a wire, you draw the wire, and then they both need to go into the sweep. So the sweep takes two objects as children, not just one.
Alright, so let's go with
Where did you want me to upload the mixer?
To Sketchfab, like we just did.
I haven't written it into Substance yet, though.
So just use any object that you've already painted in Substance. Try sending that to Sketchfab.
That's the only thing I have in there right now.
Which one?
The robot.
Okay, try that. Yeah.
And I uploaded it into Slack.
Right, but we want to send it to Sketchfab. Sketchfab's, and you sent that to Sketchfab, and that's on
It's
Slack.
already uploaded.
Oh, okay, cool. Turn off opacity.
Sync. So if you UL, I'm sure you can select the top part of the top edge of the sync. Click there. Yes, there you go. Okay. Now shift click the other side. No. Shift click the other side. Okay, and then hit UF. And then shift UF. And then shift click the insides. There you go. And then you could probably close it. And just like close it. Literally just use the green arrow. Okay, so never mind. Close it. Just extrude it very slowly. Just too small. D. No. Okay. It's because you need so extra geometry that it's on D, but just very slightly. And just this much, just a little bit, tiny bit. And then you can make it less. Like 0.1.
Oh, where did that say?
Right here.
Oh, okay.
And then just use that. Yeah, just there you go. That should give you a little bit of separation between the two if you want.
Oh, and then brings
Right now, that makes me like, okay, well, we're gonna have to unlock that piece.
because there's not even a bend right there. So,
You need a bevel?
or yeah, not below, like anything to curve.
Oh, right, because it would do it weird.
Yeah, it would do it really awkward.
Mm. Oh, this is no. Yeah, that is usually. I just like
This is like an iRay phone. iRay is like a, this is like a separate tacked on thing.
I mean, I guess I don't mind it not right. It's not
I mean,
the model is there.
yeah, it looks really good on Sketchfab and, it's great, but yeah, to do, when you bring it back into cinema, the redshift refraction should work.
Yeah.
But there's no consensus as to it.
The
Is
only
there
thing
good?
though,
You're
since
able to get
we're
it on
adding
Sketchfab?
geometry and it's. Yeah, actually, that doesn't look so bad.
That was really good.
Okay. I'm curious as to what if Control Z. And then what if we were so let's go to what if we do this weird. Okay. Oh, do you mean a build a form?
And did you get the squiggly arms working?
It's traffic. You've saved it correctly. Interesting. So make it smart. Huh?
It is.
By like at least one or two subdivision. Okay, so that's where our issue is. No, not allowed. No. I think we just do one. That would be fine.
Yeah.
It would just be very blocky.
So you talk about just the spline and the project. Yeah, so move that to. Yeah. Well, do it.
But you would have to like make it really secure to adjust it. Yeah, to connect objects and delete by selecting those. And then you could.
Yeah, all those.
I think that's every time she tries to level the edge of the sink, it like breaks the edges.
Isn't it in the,
The contract.
no, we're using public tool. If you put that on the modifier, there's that break on box. And so it has to do with the, it has to do with the vertex levels. So if you look at the levels, So how did you make the sink originally? Did you use a loop cut, or did you, like, what did you do to make the hole at first? Did you use like a building, cube?
I think you originally had cuts. I think and then you extruded them. I'm not sure what it's in the yeah, I remember like dissolving the edges that were on the top. But yeah, I think I used cuts. Would those still be there if you like extruded?
This is fortunately comes from this whole top of the one polygon, right? So when it subdivides images from it, so it's triangulated.
You know, I wonder, could I try something?
Did you cut? Is this not round?
Yeah.
For adding those extra cuts across the surface here. It's still a little see it. It's kind of big, but it doesn't, everything is triangular. Like, before it goes out to the different, and so everything, even the stuff that's cross, is triangular. So that's why you're really doing it there, because now the triangles stretch from here to there, as opposed to here to way over here, which causes that much more weird shape. So that, especially but just by subdividing this.
The main reason why I looked at in here is because I noticed that made it really square, and I didn't like that.
This is inside out.
Oh. What about the
Yeah, that's Yeah, so to make a counter, I mean, you just plug it in, or if you've got extruded this top, you use counter that
Yeah, I wanted to do that with everyone. I was actually
over here. Yeah, you just have to yeah, what is this? This is the, yeah. So you kind of have it there. So this one's like a lipstick, right? And so, yeah, I would just, you cut along there, so that this can be straight out a little, you have to try to control it. Please compare to that. Essentially making the counter. Cut here. I think so, yeah, because I mean, the other side's gonna be up against the wall, right? And so, and then here, like you said, you don't want to just round in for the other, so that's there. If you did like we did before, cut it and straight it up, that would also work, but then this would be lower. That would be flush. Should be flush. So press the counter. Save. Save. Cool, that's looking nice.
Poker time.
Is it working?
No, you switched to normal.
Yeah. Right. Get rid of the, can you get rid of the yeah. Okay, yeah, so you just need to set the point. So select the point of the, and then Yeah. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Now you just gotta adjust. Oh, wait. The object is not spline. The object is the controller. So reworking else? You go back up to the constraint tab. So which role is on? So that's this. It says setting. You could do things with it, yeah. Because once you have that set up, it should just feel like copy and paste the whole setup before you start. So maybe that other column is there.
Did you get the camera?
I'm trying to figure out how to lower this one. It's probably too right.
Go into link and then go to the side view. Yeah, that's the easiest one. And then you go to box select. And draw a rectangle around all the points on the top. And move them down.
Just the points that you want to because you're just trying to lower that top piece up.
Just that. Okay, so yeah, that should be fine. Yeah, that's good. Yep. Yeah, I would dial in the physics setting. Yeah.
I wrote down that thing for the
Yeah, and I think I paused in the radio too. Yeah, please. So if you want to cut a straight line the whole way across, loop cut isn't going to work here because it's not going to be. KK is going to be, I would do KJ. And then go to photograph. Yeah. We should be able to hold that shape in the draw. Those are the straight line across. You might have a whole
You're ready.
that shift, that'll block the movement. So, there, you see how that block is there? World,
How's everybody doing with their animatics? You guys finish?
Already submitted. We're ready. It's on Slack.
It's on Slack.
On Slack.